Hi everyone, welcome to December 2018 rewards video. So if you noticed, I've kind of got a cough. I don't know, I got a cough last weekend. Last weekend was Thanksgiving holiday weekend, and I hung out with my kids. And I'm very affectionate. And what I tend to do is I just tend to hug them and then just hold them and kiss them and hug them and play with them. And little kids, they're all full of boogers. So, yeah, giving them one too many kisses in the face. I just got a cold from them. It happens. So just bear with me. So, this is a Patreon video, which means that this video has been brought to you by my patrons, and I would like to thank them by name right now. This video has been brought to you by Aaron Garcia, Al Hobo, Anastasia, Bill Fisher, Bill Munier, Benny Brett, Brooke Brown, Chanel Winja, Christina McKay, Eric Presteman, Eric Salham, Gallo Viking, George Crawford, George Ward, Heather, Hyla Lacefield, Ingrid Hayek, Ken Dirks, Lynn, Mary Charozi, Michael Rasmussen, Nathan Seabolt, a new person, Okugbo Kenneth, Pasnas, Phil Itman, I believe he's new too, Rain, Richard Anthony, Shopping for Noobs, Sterling A. Brooks, Steve Howard, Steve R., Tamaram Cotton, Tim Bazarath, Tim John, Ulf Meyer, Vincent Delprom, and William Bell and Young Stormlord. Thank you so much for being my patrons, and I encourage you to join them if you can. So being December, I'm going to be going on holiday break over at work, which means that I'm probably going to be on Discord a little bit more during my holiday breaks. So hopefully you're going to see me on Discord. We could chat there. Let's talk about this month's artwork. I actually did do a little bit more digital work this month than I have in the last couple of months. Although the amount of digital files that's going to be downloaded will seem small because I tend to use one file to do a lot of drawings in. It happens all the time. So you're going to see a lot of art, but very few actual files, digital files. So here, let me start with this. So I watched the show Riverdale. I watched it while doing cleanup on my boards, because usually what I do is in order to do my boards, I have to concentrate so I don't put anything on. And then I start coming up with shots and I do all the creative stuff. Then once I have it all kind of roughed out and I have to just tighten it up a little bit more, that's when I put on a video. And this time around, I decided to put Riverdale while I finished doing my work. It's a nice, interesting, big soap opera, mostly murder-oriented mystery show. Kind of like the Scooby Gang, but more intense. And I got to thinking as I watched the show what this would look like in the traditional Archie style, specifically the Dan DeCarlo style, which I really, really like. So I decided to draw Betty and Veronica from the show based off of the Archie style. So that's what this is, and here I'm going to show you really quick. Here's the screenshot that I took to make this to kind of play off of. So this is the screenshot of the two actresses that play Betty and Veronica, and then below or over here on this side is what I did with it. I even did the blurry background, just like in this shot, it's blurry in the background. But I didn't just, copy exactly the image and the poses that the characters were in. I try to push them so they're more enhanced. It's more of pushing the essence of the pose rather than just doing verbatim the pose. And on top of that, trying to get the Archie style down. And I think, and if you notice this, you're going to get, this is all drawn digitally. So that means silver patrons who got the digital version are going to see the struggle. Betty, for some reason, I kind of got her down right away. But when it came to Veronica, I must have drawn her so many times. Not only that, but the poses on the girls I messed up, and I had to ended up drawing them a few times. So if you watch if you look through the file, the digital file, the 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 PSD file, you'll see the struggle. It wasn't an easy drawing for me to do. Let's keep going. What's next? All right. Okay, so one of the things this week that I worked on a lot has been my comic, and I've been working on it for months and months. But it's difficult to show you that work because I have to write the outline, then I have to write the script, and I'm working on the script, and I had to write the first draft of the script, and that's not drawing. So it takes a long time for me because it takes me as much time to write as it does to draw, which means I have a very limited amount of time to write and a little bit amount of time to draw, and so the two things just tend to go really slow. I managed to finish writing the entire first draft of the script, and as the time that's writing, I rewrote the first act part of that first draft, so the second draft of Act 1 I have officially finished. But as the comic is getting closer to being drawn, which what I was telling myself is the moment that I finish writing the second draft of my script, I was going to start to draw it, and I was going to work on the rest of the second draft of the next 4 acts as I actually physically started working on the comic itself. Well, it turns out that there is still a lot of designs that I hadn't worked out. Because the story is about the men in the universe getting turned into women, that's kind of like the main plot that needs to be fixed. They've been enchanted and become women. I had to redesign all the men characters into women, and I hadn't done that. So now it was time for me to do that. On top of that, there are 3 whole characters that I haven't designed yet. Characters that up to this point I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to represent. So I'm going to show you some of the rough concept art that I'm doing in order to design those characters as well. So by next month, I'll have some kind of front and back version of those characters. Okay, so this is one of the character designs of one of the men that got turned into women. So the idea here was that these men are still wearing their male clothes, and when they became women, they got a little bit smaller and a little bit thinner. So their clothes don't fit. So this version of the characters are wearing oversized clothes. So here's all the guys lined up. And here is so I could show you the original version. Here's the men version up here, and here's the their female versions up here. So you can see that they're all wearing exactly the same clothes, only the clothes is much bigger on them. The only exception is Jacob over here. Jacob, as a character, is very into his looks, and when he became a woman, it was completely unacceptable for him to be wearing oversized men clothes. So he decided he was going to buy himself some nice clothes that would fit him. If he was going to be a woman, he's going to look good. So he's the only one that went out of his way to buy feminine clothes for himself. Okay, so this painting is the most recent watercolor painting that I've done, and I hate it. There's something about it I just don't like, and I found myself struggling with with watercolor painting. I found that I am no longer happy with the results that I get. This is a sign that I've plateaued and that I am going to evolve and become better. This happens. This happens when, at first, when you're really kind of hitting your stride and you think you're doing well, You're kind of happy with what you're doing. And then there comes a point where your ambition evolves, where your understanding evolves, where you as an artist begin to see that there is more to what you're doing than what you're doing. And so I'm at that point where I've kind of hit that plateau where I know that this isn't good enough. And now I have to evolve. I have to go beyond where I'm at. And the problem usually is, for every artist, what to do to evolve. Where do I go from here? I don't know what the steps are to get beyond where I'm at. This is kind of the reason why I do coaching for other artists. This is why I'll probably end up talking to my own personal mentor and talk about it and see what I can do to go beyond where I'm at. So I just thought I'd share this with you. This is a painting that I did. I am not happy with it personally. You may like it, but right now where I'm at artistically, I'm not happy with it. And in fact, it's interesting because I'm not happy with any of the paintings in my sketchbook, because now I see that they are not good enough even for me now. Like, I was very happy with them, I was very proud of them, and now I'm no longer proud of them. I'm no longer as happy with them. I'm okay with them, but I'm not no longer as happy with them. And that is a great sign for me, because it means that I'm going to become better. I'm going to evolve. My art is going to get better still. I haven't hit the pinnacle, and painting will no longer be dull for me, because there's always going to be, another challenge. This is this month's postcard. Every patron will get a copy of this digital copy of the postcard, simply for being my patron. But one lucky patron will get the original, actual physical postcard. So I thought I'd share with you this. Here it is. This is the actual postcard. So this is very unique, and this is the very first time that I'm giving away one of my watercolor paintings. Now, I just said that I don't like my watercolor paintings. I actually really like this one, but the thing is that the story behind this is that I bought watercolor postcard. This is watercolor. It's a postcard made out of blank watercolor paper, specifically designed to paint on so that you can have a hand-drawn original postcard. The thing that I didn't realize, I've used my watercolor sketchbook, and it's got some paper that's somewhat rough, and that's fine, but it's not so rough that I can't get really fine details in it. And I really, really like the paper in this sketchbook. This postcard paper is even more rough. It's got much more texture. This is definitely a very hot press paper. A cold press paper means that it's just really, really rough. Hot press paper, I remember the difference between hot press and cold press, because I imagine an ironing out all the bumps on the paper. And that's the difference between a hot press paper, is that it's very, very smooth, and a cold press paper where they don't use the iron to rough out all the edges. This is definitely very rough. So at first I really didn't like it, and you can see the roughness in the digital. You can see how lumpy bumpy it is. It's very textured. At first I was very unhappy with how lumpy bumpy the paint came down on it. And then I said, you know what, that's the entire point of this traditional medium, specifically watercolor. It's meant to be to have a little bit of chaos. So after I thought about it, and I said, this makes it feel less digital, more traditional. The moment I came to that realization, the moment I accepted the roughness and the texture of the paper itself as part of the charm of the painting, I was able to let go and enjoy myself doing the painting, and I liked the way it turned out. So I will announce who won this postcard near the end of the video. Again, here's another watercolor painting I did in my sketchbook over here, and this one I'm not very happy with. So this is something that that I've discovered, and by not being happy with the watercolors that I'm doing, what I mean to say is that usually when I draw something, unlike this postcard, which like I said, I do like what I did. But for the most part, when I draw on white, I don't like the way my paintings turn out. But when I paint on my tan paper, I like the way that turns out, because I'm kind of working with a tone back already, and then I'm pulling lights out with my gouache paint, white paint. And there's something about doing that I really enjoy. So I'm wondering what it is about painting on white paper that is not working for me. So I need to experiment more with the way that I approach painting on white paper specifically. And that's what I'm going to be practicing from this point moving forward. Okay, so last month I shared this upper part of this sketchbook page, and there was nothing here below. So in December, the very first day of December, I was able to do these sketches down below. So these are from my imagination. I was designing the fox character for my comic, so that was one of the characters that I have to design for the comic. And then I started trying to design the human version of the character. So she is a kitsune. So as a kitsune, she could shapeshift, and she shapeshifts into a human being, and she works as a gardener. So I needed to figure out what she would look like as a human being. So here are my rough studies, trying to come up with something that kind of, at first I was trying to make her have very fox-like, something like I was trying to maybe make her hair seem like ears and stuff like that. And then I decided that that wasn't necessary, and besides, it wasn't working. I didn't like anything that I was coming up with, and the reference that I was looking at, like a lot of women's hair, I just didn't like the way it looked like with things up. Like, I just didn't like it. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to give her any fox characteristics. I was just going to draw a character. So that's what I did. I decided just to have her hair up because it needed to be efficient so that she could get her gardening done, and that's what I did. And I gave her gardening clothes so that she could be a gardener. And then here is her little bubble. I forgot what it's called. Her tama, something like that. I kind of make fun of it in the script. It's a Japanese word for this kind of a pearl-like sphere that kitsunes have. And she wears it around her neck in a medallion form. And to be honest, I think that I forgot to design it and put it on the turnaround that you will see of her next. So this is some of the preliminary sketches. So in the story, she also will become kind of like a were-fox, like a big monster, because she wants to defend herself against the protagonists. So she fights them physically, and so I needed to come up with a design of what she would look like once she became a beast, more of a beast form. And this is when some of my animal studies came in as well, because I got to kind of play around with the anatomy of something like that. And here we have another page of my sketch. This is basically what I came up with. This is me kind of saying, okay, so if I was to add ink, how would it look like? And So this is what it will be. This is the final design of this form that the kitsune takes. These are just sketches for the story. And this is just me messing around. This is a little bit of a drawing from the story, like a little kind of like this would be an event that happened in the story, but I wasn't happy with it, so I'm just going to leave it as a little thumbnail and not do anything with this. This here is just me trying to understand and break down the Archie style for myself, so that if I decide to draw any more Riverdale drawings, which I think I will, I'm more comfortable with the Dan DeCarlo Archie style and trying to wrap my head around it. Figure drawings this month, lots of figure drawings. I'm not very happy with these. So after doing so many sketchbook tours, I realized that some of the sketches in these sketchbook tours, especially the figure drawings, I really liked it when they were extreme, when they were really, really, really pushed to caricature extremes. And I wanted to get back to doing that. And by doing that, my drawings just went straight down. Like I just, it's actually far more difficult, and I'm far less happy with my figure drawings because I am learning to do my figure drawings in a different way. And learning something new always means taking 3 or 4 steps back so before you move forward. So all my work is actually getting worse because of what I'm doing than getting better. So a lot of these figure drawings I'm really not happy with because I'm approaching them in a completely different way that I'm not used to, and I'm doing different things with it that I'm not used to. In part, I am doing a finished drawing instead of just a gesture. I'm trying to do a finished drawing from the start, like something that looks a lot more finished with a lot less underdrawing, just going straight into a final drawing. And that is very, very difficult. So again, making a few steps back before going forward. So here we have that. See, so as you can see, this is an example. I am just doing the outline that I see. This is the way I approach the whole drawing. There is no underdrawing. This is just drawing what I see from the start, and but imagining all the construction. Like, I'm not ignoring the construction. I'm not ignoring the gesture. I'm not ignoring any of that stuff. But I'm doing it in my head so that when I do the final drawing, you can't see all the structure and the construction. And sometimes it works. This is fairly decent. And then this one, no, not so much. It just falls apart. So it's just doing a lot of things that are kind of difficult. These are the preliminary drawings, the very beginnings of the designs for the 3 characters that I was talking about that I haven't designed yet. So we've got this guy who's a bit of a nerd, but he's very smart, and then we've got this guy who is basically a psychopathic killer. So all of these, and then I have one more character that I have not yet designed, who is going to be more of a 1920s actress. So she's going to be wearing 1920s clothes. She's going to be very full of herself and that sort of thing. So that's the next character I get to design. So this is close to what I want, but it'll actually be a little bit more pushed. He's going to look a little bit more like this, and this guy over here is going to look a lot more like this. I decided to do a little version of them so that I could really break down the shapes for myself better, so I could get a design that I like. At first I drew this, but that seems too heroic for me, and I kind of wanted something that looked a little bit more of a big barrel-chested gorilla type of a character instead of, something that seems too heroic. This is a watercolor painting on tan paper, and this I like more because of the fact that it's on tan paper. I just don't know what it is about painting on tan paper that I like the way it turns out more than I do when I paint in white paper. So at some point I've got to make that shift, that connection, that what is it that's working on the tan paper that is not working for me on the watercolor, on the white watercolor paper. Here's a tighter shot of Harry. Harry is the guy who's connected to those 3 new characters that I have to design. He tends to be, and then this is the female version of Harry. He has been cursed by getting stuck with these 3 ghosts that go around with him everywhere, and they're constantly talking to him in his head, which are those 3 characters that I'm designing in the previous thing. And they possess his body when he doesn't want them to, that sort of thing. Like he sometimes just gets possessed by these characters. Here's a close-up of Jacob, dressed all nice for himself. Here's a close-up of Ken. He's going to be the main character. His point of view is the story is going to be completely told from his point of view. So he's going to be the person that we tend to be in his head and we relate to the most, hopefully relate to the most. But that's who, this is going to be the main character. There's a lot of characters, so I just had to choose one from by which we see the entire story. And I ended up choosing him because his story arc, he's the one that learns a lesson. So that's kind of, and so I chose him specifically, and so that's who the main character is going to be. And speaking of which, here's the Kitsune. This is her back, this is her front. So I got to do this for the other 3 characters. Not necessarily all the male characters turn into women. I already have a back version of all the male versions of the characters. I don't really need to have them from behind. But this is the back version and the front version of the Kitsune. So you're going to get this. And this is her with her hair down. So eventually, during the struggle, during the whole chaos of the story, her hair comes down, and this is what it looks like this is what she looks like with her hair down. And here is Lou. He is the Black Dagger god. He is an African god of disease. And out of all the characters, this guy is the most goofball. He just kind of is kind of loopy little. And he's just kind of like, what? Oh, I don't know. What? He's not really paying attention to everything that's happening around him. He kind of takes it all in stride. So, he's a really fun character. And we're right back to where we started. Okay, so that's the artwork for the month. That's what you're going to get in the rewards. So I hope that you liked it. Oh, and then I should probably talk about who got the postcard this month. And this month's postcard is going to be given to Vincent. Vincent is a person that I am coaching, and he started the coaching last month. So congratulations, Vincent. You get the postcard for this month. Vincent lives in Australia, so it's going to be quite an adventure trying to get him the postcard. I have run out of stamps, so I am going to need to go to the post office and get myself some stamps. And now, for some reason, postage outside of the U.S. has increased. So it's happened twice already that when I've mailed off the postcard for anybody, it didn't out of the U.S. I mean, George won a couple of months ago, and when I sent him the postcard, it came back to me. So because it didn't have enough postage, and it was really annoying. And Ingrid won a postcard, and I sent her the postcard, and it came back to me because I didn't have enough post. So it's one of those things where I'm just figuring this out. So Okay, thank you so much for being my patron. I hope you enjoyed this little preview of all the work that you will get this month. And I hope you enjoy the PSD files of the characters and the character designs. Not PSD files, the PSD, the Photoshop files of the character designs and things like that. So yeah, all this character here and anything pretty much drawn in red like this, you're going to get the actual files. Not like this, because this is one in my sketchbook, but pretty much anything that is drawn in red like this, you're going to get the PSD files of this. So you could see my process of drawing the character designs. You will and that's one of the learning things that you can do when you're at silver level and you're doing that sort of thing. Studying the digital files it tends to be very helpful, and usually because coaching people that I coach tend to have access to silver patron rewards. It's very useful for me to go just to download the PSD file and see how I did it, so that you can see what I'm talking about here, and it's really good, like learning. It's really good for learning how to get some of these things done. Okay, so thank you so much, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.